Hello and welcome to Face to Face. I'm Kalczyńska and joining me tonight is Michał Broniatowski, Editor-in-Chief, TVP World. Welcome, Michał. Oh, it's shaping to be an important week. And we observe U.S. diplomatic efforts accelerating along with the mounting trade offensive. But let us start with another important and big story, the phone call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. So the president of the United States held a call with Russian leader in an effort to negotiate peace in Ukraine, of course. He revealed the news to New York Post in an exclusive interview aboard Air Force One. And addressing Mike Waltz, the national advisor on security, he said, let's get these meetings going. They want to meet. Everyday people are dying. Young, handsome soldiers are being killed. Young men, like my son, on both sides, all over the battlefield. So is this actually a peace plan or a plan for a ceasefire?
If this is a peace plan, it is unacceptable for Ukraine. You cannot start talking about peace by equalizing aggressor and defender. This, as he calls them, beautiful people are dying. One of them are dying because they are waging an aggressive war against the independent country, and the others are defending their homeland. He also said, which I think is a crucial quote here, he says, he means Putin, wants to see people stop dying.
Exactly.
What a great man this Putin is. Mm-hmm. And, it's amazing to repeat whatever Putin tells him. Putin probably told him that yes, I want to stop people dying. The problem is that he's the only man. He's the man who started them dying, made them die, and for him to just stop shooting, and exactly. They will.
It's as easy as that.
So, but of course, on words, yes, it is easy, but how to do it is very difficult, and it seems to me that Mr. Trump doesn't have an idea how to finish it. Also, very strange thing about this conversation between Trump and Putin, because there is no sign of that on official media on both sides. This is only this exclusive interview for New York Post, who's growing in importance because it is pro-Trump. Even Trump, when asked for more details and possible future talks, he said evasively, we want to talk.
And no confirmation on the Russian side.
Yes. So if there was no such a conversation and this Trump description of the conversation is correct, or if he describes something which is his wishful thinking, still it is unacceptable for Ukraine, which is fighting for its freedom. A fifth part of the country has been taken away from them, enormous suffering of civilians, not to mention soldiers. So it's a long time, I think, before we have any solution. What is really important in this case is how America plans to work in this relation between now and the peace solution, because, there will be fights, of course, on the whole front. And without support from the U.S., Ukrainians will be in a very bad position.
So I see several elements here. First, as you rightly pointed out, it's very moving on the part of Donald Trump to see, to show this empathy, but it's addressed to the wrong side, first of all, unless Donald Trump wants to fool around Vladimir Putin. Second, we don't know what the plan for the peace talks really is. We hear from Mike Waltz that perhaps India and China would be willing to facilitate those peace talks, but we still don't know how.
I don't think that 3 years after the war started, there is anybody in the world who is capable of proposing a viable peace plan, especially when somebody tries to arrange for any peace talks without talking to Ukraine.
Well, J.D. Vance is about to talk to Zelensky.
Yes, but we will come to it. But I'd like to say something about this revolution which is taking place in front of our eyes. It's amazing. The history is galloping, really, with Trump in 1 week practically, well, maybe I'm overdoing, but dismantling the grounds of American democracy, he sent Mr. Musk and his team, called nicely DOGE, which is Department of Government Efficiency. What happens is they usurp a right to look into every account of every agency of the government, looking, for example, into deep secrets of Treasury, which not only is breaking privacy of people who are paid from, for example, their pensions or the social security, whatever, but also gives Musk, who is an active businessman, an access to his competition's finances. Amazing. And, they come and freeze foreign and domestic aid funding. They dismantle USAID organization. Musk he has no constitutional powers to behave like that because he's not a formal member of administration, because he was not vetted by the Senate, no voting on him. We don't know who he is, in fact. He has very close relations to China. This is all very, very strange, and Americans really have problems. And now, American galloping is moving towards Europe. Not only the Vice President J.D. Vance is coming to Europe for several meetings here, but also Trump, on his way to the Super Bowl on Sunday night, warned that he's going to impose 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium globally, which means it includes also Mexico and Canada, to which he just suspended his tariffs. But anyway, this is so he's like in Hitchcock film, he's starting with earthquake. This week is starting with earthquake because of this statement from Trump, and then we'll have several events which will increase the suspense. We are starting the week with the conference on artificial intelligence in France, which was supposed to be a big success of European resolve to stand up to America in this field. But suddenly it appeared that first Trump said that his government is prepared to invest $500 billion into AI. China is introducing its DeepSeek competitive artificial intelligence system, however, not very artificial intelligence. I would say they borrowed part of a mindset of the leadership of China in their political representations. This is just pure Beijing propaganda. So Europe is facing enormous problems with this artificial intelligence, and this debate in Paris at this conference. We should also very carefully listen to the statement from J.D. Vance. He's supposed to speak at this conference because some time ago he said that the U.S., let's quote it here, Washington could stop supporting NATO if allies censor American platforms. He's talking about Musk's X and about others, and of course competition to AI, and also about investigations in Europe, in France and Germany, or demands from France and Germany towards X to reveal secrets of algorithms on X, which are supposedly being biased towards right wing.
But is it possible just to suspend financing within NATO, having nothing to do with the military alliance?
Well, they are connecting everything,
Unilaterally?
Of course, unilaterally. Trump did it with Mexico and Canada, saying that because of smuggling of fentanyl over the border with Canada, he introduces across the board 25% tariffs.
So we are assisting a concert of powers, basically. And it's just, doing business around the globe within different areas, melting everything together. But this time we have 25% tariff on steel and aluminum. So it's supposedly likely to trigger also a forceful response from Europe. But what actually Europe can do by imposing just retaliatory measures?
Well, I think for this, at least, Europe is prepared because they, even if everybody hoped it would not be Trump, luckily Europe, at least leadership of the European Union, was preparing to such a situation, and they have a ready-made package of retaliation. We will immediately have the
counter-retaliation.
Yes, we will see how does it end. Of course, one could expect it, but we never imagined that it would take such a speed. In the meantime, we also had last week this statement about removing Palestinians from Gaza in order to create a big development possibilities for Trump and America, or America and Trump. Europe will really have to get its act together to be able to compete with this acts of, I don't want to call it acts of madness, but definitely acts which were probably not very deeply thought through. Like, for example, this thing with Gaza Strip and, like connecting NATO financing with not censoring American platforms. J.D. Vance says that this is in defense of free speech, that America is protesting against this censoring of American platforms. He also calls this fight for free speech, quote, a part of Trump's moral leadership. So we are now, Europe is fighting, or Europe has to obey to this pressure with moral leadership of the United States.
Well, Donald Trump doesn't seem to care, but the method to this madness, since you already quoted the Bard, lies, I don't know exactly where. To my eyes, this is weakening the position of Donald Trump, since he reiterates his willingness to talk and to call Vladimir Putin, and we hear no response. So, it's like doing a lot, do much about nothing, basically, right?
It's not about nothing. It's about the...
Much ado about nothing.
About everything. In fact, if his ideas are implemented, if Europe is unable to react, if Europe stays behind when, which is quite possible, Trump gets together with China over heads of Europeans, it may be simply pushing Europe, which is otherwise a huge economic might. It may degrade Europe to the role of a supporter or follower of what these two giants decide. And we will see it happening this week, because after this AI meeting in Paris, there will be this meeting, there will be the Munich Security Conference, at which J.D. Vance is also supposed to speak. He's also supposed to meet President Zelensky, whom he snubbed last year at the same conference in Munich. It was not nice. While last year, Zelensky could have treated it lightly. This year, it's already very serious to talk to J.D. Vance, who is very much against supporting Ukraine in this tragic conflict with Russia.
So Munich has seen an unprecedented protests take to the streets against CDU Freidrich Merz and his policy of making gestures toward the AfD, the right wing, in Germany. But not only, it was also a protest against leaning to the right of the American administration. So now it's obviously we will be centering our focus on Munich and on this conference. It will be attended both by Keith Kellogg, who's supposed to go to Ukraine afterwards. Mike Waltz is going to be there, and he made it clear that the responsibility for Ukraine's security guarantees rely solely on the Europeans. So my question to you, Michał, is this: what does it exactly mean on the Europeans? Does it mean that European troops are going to get to Ukraine without the US umbrella, as it was expected, at least, for many months?
I think it's just dressing all demands in new words. America wants to stop being free of charge guarantor of European stability and peace. Trump is in different ways saying he wants our support, pay for it. And he wants involvement on the ground or involvement in supporting militarily Ukraine to be entirely in the hands of Europe. The ploy is for European Union to send arms to Ukraine and then having to buy them from the US in order to fill the gaps in their defense capabilities. So this is one thing. And then there was this idea floated here and there and then supported very much by some politicians in Europe or even talks started to deploy peacekeepers after the peace is achieved. And because these peacekeepers forces will be from NATO, it would mean, in fact, that the border of NATO would be very far, moved very far to the east, and would really guarantee that Russians would not start shooting after the peace. Problem is, we need to reach this moment of ceasefire and some sort of peace agreement. Another
NATO guarantee, which is membership of Ukraine in the NATO, I understand is off the table right now.
Promises. Nothing can start taking place if Ukraine is still at war. Even examples, for example, of West Berlin was sieged by East Germany, and nevertheless Germany was accepted to NATO. But this situation is different. We have a hot war, shooting war in Ukraine, and it's impossible at the moment, but declarations could go further. At the moment we have the only declaration on the part of NATO countries is to sign bilateral agreements with Ukraine, similar to the agreement that exists between the US and Israel. Well, if it is implemented, it would be fine, because look at Israel. It's capable of waging either wars against some...
defending itself.
And defend itself. I think NATO, not now, but if Europe says, we will invite you after the war, but at the moment we are going to... Well, in fact, several of these treaties have been signed and they work.
All right. In the meantime, we hear Ursula von der Leyen saying that Europe needs to take in its own hand the matter of its security and defense. What exactly does this mean? And does it exclude United States? Is it some form of a different organization?
What she's talking about is trying to convince the rest of the European Union to share into required European spending in defense. The problem is how to finance it. The proposal is supported very strongly by Prime Minister Donald Tusk from Poland, create joint financing by EU states represented by the European Commission. The same as in the case of this COVID fund, recovery fund. At the moment, Germany, which is the main
contributor,
would be the main contributor, is saying vehemently no, but in 2 weeks' time we will have a new setup of the Bundestag with probable chancellor from CDU, who is much more positive towards both increasing spending on defense and supporting Ukraine.
So heated time in Europe and across the Atlantic. Thank you very much, Michał. We will see where it goes. We will see each other on Friday to discuss the Munich Security Summit as well as Paris meeting on AI. So that's all we have prepared for you in this episode of Face to Face. And thank you very much for joining us. Please be with us on Friday. In the meantime, stay tuned to TVP World for more news and commentary.